Don't call her cute, don't call her feisty. She's a rebel, she is nasty, she is brave. She isn't honey, sweetie, sugar pie, baby. And don't you ever say that she was well behaved. Don't you ever say that she was well behaved. And don't you ever say that she was well behaved.
I have like day after drinking voice. So.
Yeah, girl. What'd you do last night?
Well, yesterday I went to the march.
How was it?
Very cool. I'm really glad I went. I like hadn't really remembered that it was happening, and then Julia Claire was like, we should hang out, and I was like, yes. And then I noticed I was like, oh shoot, we should do that. And then Marsha Belsky came with us, so it was the three of us, which was a very fun little crew, and there's a ton of people there. And it was really cool. I'm glad we went.
Did you make a sign?
I didn't have time to make a sign.
Did you see any good ones?
Oh, saw a lot of good ones.
Like what?
I posted some of them. There's a lot of like sad ones from children. Like there was kids holding up a sign that said, "We want to grow up," and there's another one that said, "Lockdowns are scary." We saw like Sandy Hook survivors and moms. Then there's one that I really liked that was, okay, I'm trying to remember it. It's NRA sashay away. And then it said common sense gun reform, Shantae you stay.
Oh.
And it had like pictures of RuPaul. That one was really funny. And then there was one that was like the Shape of Water poster, but it said the Shape of Slaughter, and instead of like the figures, it just had like an AR-15. It was like really well photoshopped. And then there were just some that were like really pretty but like weren't that clever or whatever. But yeah, there was a lot of good ones. It was fun. Yeah. And we were doing a lot of chants, and we walked. It was a long walk, but we walked by like 2 Trump buildings and Fox News. So that was a lot of like booing outside of those. And it was also really cool once we got to 6th Avenue because they had the street all open and stuff.
That's nice.
So to like walk down 6th Avenue. It was a little crowded like along Central Park West. But once you got to 6th Avenue, there was like tons of space and you were just like walking.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, so I woke up with every intention of going. And I woke up with like so much anxiety.
It's not worth it, though.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give $15 to a charity.
That's more important.
So I did that. But then, I mean, because like the Women's March, the first one was like amazing. And I didn't have anxiety at all for that. And I think part of it was like I had prepared myself for a long time and we were like going on a trip together.
Yeah.
But then the one this year that I went to in New York, I couldn't handle it. And
I also think the one in New York is probably like, I didn't go to the one in New York, but based on this one, DC, there's kind of more wide open space.
Yeah.
Like here, it is pretty narrow if you're just on a street.
It's so narrow, and they had barricaded every block.
Yeah, that was like that for this one too.
You would basically just like walk 3 feet and then have to stop for like 10 minutes and then keep, and that like I could like if we had just kept walking, I would have been
like
fine.
That for this one too.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go that.
We like went out like our little like pen. We just like walked out of it, went onto the sidewalk along Central Park West and walked down, and then like caught it moving because we were like, we don't want to keep stopping and starting.
Yeah, I can't. Because I need to have an exit.
Yeah.
And
which there kind of wasn't. I mean, there was barricades along the streets for people not to get in. So I definitely had everywhere I go now, because we live in this cool world. Every time I go to a movie or a concert or a rally or anything, I'm always like, what will I do if someone starts shooting?
Yeah. I picture it in the subway platform a lot.
Everywhere. I mean, like, yeah.
Usually
subway.
Walking through Grand Central.
I don't picture it in the platform as much. I gotta start doing that. That's a good one.
Sorry to bring my anxiety to yours.
No, sorry. You gotta be prepared. I'll think of it on the subway car, which really is the worst. Sorry, that one is. Yeah. There's no good answer. That one is you just hope for the best. You hope you can fall under someone and look dead.
Do you remember? Did you have lockdown drills in school?
No, we didn't. I think it was Marsha or Julie. I think Marsha said that she did.
We did.
We did not.
We didn't until
maybe it's because she's from Oklahoma, and maybe it's like in that area they were doing it. I don't know.
I don't know. I remember maybe we had them in middle school too, but I remember specifically my freshman year in high school in band class, and I remember it was like probably April, and our band director sort of like sitting us down and being like, "Look, I don't know why this happens." But basically and this was back when like shootings, like mass shootings only happened like once a year. And he was like, every spring, something happens. He was like, I don't know why, but that's when Columbine happened.
Interesting.
That's when like all these other things happened, like and for whatever reason. Now it's like all the time.
Every other day.
But so it was like March or April, and he was like, we have to practice like what would happen if a shooter, because we were also the band room at that time was separate from the rest of the high school. It was its own building.
Yeah.
And so like he was like, we have to talk about like what we would do if we were isolated, like if something happened. And so we like did a lockdown drill, and then I think like a couple of times our high school was in lockdown, but not because anybody came onto campus. It was just like something was happening in the neighborhood, like around.
I mean, like I was here for 9/11, which is when I was in 8th grade, and my high school that I ended up going to the next year was like right next to the World Trade Center. And so it's weird that they didn't actually, after 9/11, maybe do, although maybe they thought that it would be like triggering for kids to like do drills about it or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Because most of the kids, everyone in this, the other 3 grades in the school were there for 9/11. I remember, but I was in Brooklyn, but like you could still see like papers flying over and like smoke and stuff.
Jesus.
And we were in like, I remember I was in a math class with this fucking awful math teacher who, when I got into like the high school I got into, which is like you have to take a test to get in, I got into that high school, and this kid Khalid did not get in, and he was like really good at math, and this motherfucker said in front of the class,
the teacher,
the teacher was like, you see, that's why these tests like don't prove anything, like Molly got in and Khalid didn't. Yeah. Anyway, he was a dumb idiot.
Oh my God.
He was a total piece of shit. He's a sad man who taught public middle school math. Like, I don't care. But
not that public middle school teachers are anything bad. I mean,
heroes.
Some of them are
assholes and some of them are heroes.
Some of them
this
are
one
assholes.
was an asshole.
I had some good
ones.
I also had a couple of bad.
Middle school's a hard thing to teach. I get it. But anyway,
it's a hard thing to teach, but it's also like there are some teachers who seem to basically like, it's as if they never had power at any other point in their lives.
Yeah.
And now they are really exerting it.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, on 9/11, we were in his class.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, that's all. We were in his class, and it was like in a basement, like in like a closet, because like our school was overcrowded. So we had math in like basically like a janitor's closet. And we had gone to like elective the period before, where like I went to chorus, some people went to visual arts, some people went to drama, whatever. And in the drama room, they could see the Twin Towers. And so they were able to like see it happening. And then when our class all came back together, all the kids in drama were like, planes hit the Twin Towers, and we were all like, what? And then there was this girl in my class whose dad worked at the Twin Towers, and she was like hysterical, and we were just like, and then this motherfucker math teacher was trying to be like, okay guys, let's just try and do the lesson.
No.
And I was like, no, you dumb it. I literally was like, no. That's probably why the guy didn't like me, because I was like a huge bitch to him. But I was like, no, we're not doing math right now, you idiot. Like, no. And so then like Emily like got taken away from the office, but her dad was okay. Spoilers. Luckily,
Good.
he like
That's a good spoiler.
it was like one of the people who was like late to work or something. But we were all just like freaking out and like didn't know what was going on. And yeah, anyway. But yeah, so we never really had drills or anything after that.
I mean, I guess with that though, it's like, well, what? Because like, would lockdown even help with that? You know, like
no,
that it's more like let's learn how to evacuate.
Yeah,
I feel like.
I guess so. Yeah, but no, we didn't have any. We didn't have any like lockdown drills for that. I don't know.
But I can't imagine like what that like having, because I saw signs that were like, or just tweets that were like, in my kids class, like in my 6-year-old kids class, they call it the silent game of like that. And they'll like give kids like lollipops while they're hiding to like keep their mouths so that they stay.
That's smart.
It's really smart, but it's also like, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah.
I don't like. I can't imagine that. I remember like fire drills and like earthquake and even earthquake drills. We were like, we're in Kentucky. This is dumb. We're not on a fault line.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the one that hit me the hardest, the shooting that hit me the hardest, like kind of was Sandy Hook, because I was working in elementary school at that point, and so then I would have like moments of like, what would I do if this? I mean, it was like in this small part of New Orleans. It was like in Algiers, so it was like, it felt like if a shooting were to happen, it wouldn't happen there, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, you truly don't.
Yeah, and it's like so scary. So I was like always like, what would I do? Like, how would I? Ugh, it was just so scary. And also like that the kids, like to be around kids like of that age, and then, you know, ugh, it's disgusting. Anyway, anyway, so I went to the march and it was cool and felt good, and it feels like something's happening, and there were people registering people to vote like every other block.
I know. I saw Allison
cool.
Klump tweeting out her and Nate Fritzen went and registered a bunch of people.
Oh,
she had a very funny joke that was like,
idea.
This is the least creepy way I've ever asked a bunch of teenagers if they were 18.
Yeah, I know.
So funny.
I know. I kept doing this classic bit where I'd be like, sorry, too young. Are you registered to vote? Sorry, I'm 16. Yeah, nobody liked it.
Oh,
but
that
me.
You were 16.
Yeah,
that you're too young. That's cute.
Young
That's really
vote.
cute.
I'm sorry, you can't register yet. I'm too young to vote. But yeah,
so funny.
it was good. And yeah, then I went home and napped a little bit, and then I had dinner with my mom and Julia and my brother, a weird little crew, and we had dinner, and then I went to like some comedy birthday party in Bushwick. And stayed like too late.
Yeah.
And then woke up too early, and I'm so tired now. What did you do yesterday? Should we save it for the second one?
No.
Okay, we are doing
We're
two in a row.
recording 2.
We'll have to think of something else to talk about.
Because I actually like wrote a couple of topics.
Good. That's a good
just
idea.
in case.
I'm glad you did that. Okay. Wait, what did you do yesterday?
Yeah. Sorry to like, you know, peel the layers back a little bit on this podcast, but like we do occasionally prepare.
Yeah, and it's Passover, so we have to do two.
I'm going home for Passover. I woke up with like on the verge of a panic attack.
Oh no.
And it was like,
Ariel.
I don't know why.
So
I think it was just the idea of being in a huge crowd, because little things throughout like don't give me anxiety. It's truly just like crowds like that.
Yeah,
that is like very panicky to me.
Well, you're in the right city for that. Oh my god, get out of here.
So I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm not doing this.
What do you do on a crowded subway? How do you do on a crowded subway?
Crowded subways are fine, actually. I think because I know it's temporary.
Yeah.
And I know where all my exits are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've only had one near panic attack on a subway, but it's also because I was a little stoned.
I've had them.
So, we've talked about that.
And I've had them before too. My dad gets a little claustrophobic on the subway too.
My dad gets claustrophobic too, and I remember as a kid being like, "That's weird," and now I'm like, "I get it." So, but like, yeah, that's fine, because I know it's exactly when it's ending.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's the size of the crowd. I truly think it's like I have to know when it's over and how I'm getting out.
Yeah.
So
you were like, okay, not gonna go.
So I woke up, I made that decision, and then my brother and his girlfriend were in town. Oh. So we went and had lunch. Shaki came at a diner, and then we went to the Met, which I really tried to appreciate. It was, you know what, it was like, well, I also woke up like very tired, and I think it was just, I really think it was just the stress. Yeah. And I had like a bunch of spots the night before, and so I was out late. Yeah. We went to the Met, and it was like, I guess it was all these like artifacts that we were looking at, which is cool. Like, I'm glad it exists, but I don't think it's for me. No. Like, I love history, but that just like doesn't trigger anything for me. And so we like made a few jokes or whatever, which was fun. And then when we were in we were like in this room filled with like African masks or whatever, and I was like, oh my god, it's like Black Panther, and I just like pictured that happening, and that was fun. I just pictured somebody being poisoned by coffee. Spoiler. But then I think we all, like the four of us collectively, we were there for like an hour and a half, and we all sort of collectively were like, do we want to keep going or can we be done?
You can't do the whole thing also. I mean, an hour is enough. You can't be.
And there were just like all these like old people who kept like sort of just like pushing you aside, like not physically, but just like getting like if you're standing at the at an exhibit and like looking right at it, there would be just like somebody like hovering over you or who like came and like somehow got in front of you. It was just like a lot. And then there was this like
a museum on a weekend on a nice day.
And then there was this like beautiful, incredible painting that like it was really big. It was up along the wall and I didn't see it, but on the like near the floor was like a ribbon just sort of like blocking you off. But I didn't see that and I like almost tripped and fell into the painting. And like the person was like, it had to tell me, she was like, back up. And I was like, I know. Like, I didn't know that it was there. I was like, honestly, like if this ribbon there wasn't there, I wouldn't have almost fallen into this painting. But so that, and then we were like, we should go. It was like Ariel almost ruined a priceless painting.
That would have been nuts.
And I made a joke when we first went in there because there are all these like sculptures and stuff like that and like statues and I was like, I'm gonna trip, I'm gonna fall into one of these. And then I
literally almost did.
I took a trip to the Met.
Wow. Well, that's fun. What was your brother doing in town? Just a visit?
Yeah, his girlfriend Julia, who is from New York, it was like her friend was having a birthday party. So they went to that.
Cool.
And it was really nice. And then he had dinner with her parents. I think they're going back to DC today. And then I'll see them again. And I mean, I'll see my brother next week when we both go to Kentucky. But then in, I guess, like 3 weeks, my parents are coming up. And so my brother and Julia are going to come up. And it's going to be the first time that Julia is meeting my parents.
Ooh,
which is very exciting.
Wow.
I think they'll like each other. Yeah.
Cool. Are they staying with you or are they staying?
Where?
I mean, an air mattress? I don't know.
No. They stay. I mean, she still has family. Like, her parents are still here.
No, I mean your parents.
Oh, God, no. They're staying with my aunt, who, like, is a real grown-up and has the place. She has, like, a spare bedroom.
That's so
nice.
Just
crazy.
A spare.
That's
awesome. Well, that's lovely.
And then I did spots.
Perfect.
And then I did spots. And then I used all the money that I made last night doing spots to take a cab home because the subway wasn't running.
Is it just not running though at all? I looked at the subway to try and get here. That's ridiculous.
So stupid.
It's so annoying.
So stupid.
Yeah, because there was a moment where I was like, maybe I'll take the train here.
Nope, you can't. You got to take that shuttle. I would
have had to take a G to like a bus is what it was telling me. And I was like, I don't know. I'll just drive. And it was like, it'll take an hour. I was like, it'll take 17 minutes and I can get Taco Bell if I drive. So that one.
Cynthia Nixon for governor.
Yeah, I'm into that. I didn't realize that the primary is in June. It's very soon.
It's very soon.
Last night at this thing, someone was like, I don't know why she waited so long. And I was like, Sex and the City 3. So she was trying to see if it was going to happen.
Trying to see if Samantha and Carrie could work it out.
I wonder if she could get it. People don't like Cuomo. I don't know. I kind of want to like volunteer for her a little bit or something.
You want a phone bank?
Yeah, maybe
I'd phone bank with you.
A phone bank.
Because at first I was just like, God, the last thing we need is another fucking celebrity. And then I was like, well, let me read up. And I was like, oh no, she like... and nobody's perfect, but I was just like, okay, she's like really into public schools and like LGBT rights and like legit wants to. You had was it you who had that joke about somebody had a joke about like, she's really committed because she's willing to live in Albany.
Someone said that. Was me.
Maybe it was Marsha. I don't know. Somebody said it, and I was like, yeah, I guess like if she's willing to live in Albany, like go for it, girl.
Rough. Yeah.
Wait, are get started?
Yeah, we should. This is a little bit of how the sausage is made, but I have two people. One's a little bit longer, one's a little bit shorter. Should I do my longer one first?
Do your longer one, and I'll do my shorter one.
Okay. And do I go first?
No, I do.
Okay.
Cool. Welcome to Well Behaved, the podcast about obscure women and history.
Yeah. I'm Molly Ruben-Long.
I'm Ariel Elias.
And we're going to tell you about some ladies you might not know about.
Okay, so my like the person that I did, there's like I couldn't find so much information about her. But and normally when that happens, I'll just be like, you know what, I'm not going to do this one. Like maybe we'll save it for one day if we have a Patreon page and we do like short little ones. But then I was like, it's about, she was like somebody in the Haitian Revolution.
Cool.
And I was like, I know so little about the Haitian Revolution. So like, let me just go into that and then we'll talk about her. So slavery in Haiti, real quick, happened real shitty. It started with the Spanish. Cortez was a dick. And then it got way worse under French rule because it was cheaper for the French to bring people over from Africa to Haiti. It was cheaper for them to do that than it was for them to just like improve living conditions.
Jesus.
So enslaved people in Haiti had the highest mortality rate in the Western world. Wow. Sometimes directly because of like harsh conditions and disease and stuff. And then sometimes because of suicide. So there were like thousands of enslaved people who killed themselves. This is like straight from Wikipedia, but they were whipped, burned, buried alive, restrained and allowed to be bitten by swarms of insects, mutilated, raped, and had limbs amputated. Slaves caught eating the sugar cane would be forced to wear tin muzzles in the fields. So, I mean, just like, because I don't know, sometimes I put that in there because I was like, I think it's like, it's very jarring to actually hear the description of what, because otherwise you have this like arbitrary image in your mind of like slavery was bad. It was bad. This was harsh. But it's like, it's so much
tortured.
They were tortured. Yeah.
It was a life of imprisonment and torture for no reason.
It's not just working for no pay. It's also like you are treated like
as if that wasn't bad enough.
Yeah. You're treated worse than an animal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry for
no,
that's in there, but that's why
the truth.
I decided to put that in there. Yeah. So what happened was enslaved people started running away to the mountains where they would establish their own communities, and then in addition to that, they started revolting, partly because these like former slaves had these communities, but also the French kept bringing in people from Africa, and many of them had military training and weren't born into slavery. So like in the US, for example, at a certain point, it like even though slavery was still legal, it became illegal to import people. Right. Just like such a crazy sentence. But so like there was basically in the US, there was like a whole population of people who had been born into slavery and had never known freedom. Whereas in Haiti, they keep bringing in these people who know what it's like to be free and also like have experience fighting wars. So they like weren't as afraid to just like run away and establish their own community. Right. So these runaways became known as Maroons, and they would steal supplies from plantations. They also like had their own crops and shit. They like knew the mountains, which like, these like plantation owners didn't. Right. So they were kind of like, it was kind of like once they ran away, there were like bounty hunters and stuff like that who would try to bring them back. But it seems like they were left alone a lot more than like the enslaved people from the South who ran away to the north in the US.
Because they could just get more. Is that why, do you think?
I think it's because like it was a lot harder to capture them. Oh, gotcha. And it was more dangerous to capture them. And also like in the US, there was a law for a time that like if you had been enslaved and you ran away to the north and like the plantation owner or a bounty hunter came to find you, they like had to turn you over to them. Whereas that didn't exist in Haiti, right? Because there is no other like there's nobody living in those mountains, right? Except for like some native people who like had managed to escape to them. Yeah. Okay, so the French Revolution, which we talked about last week, happened in 1789. Monarchy's done. Everyone's all about human rights and civil rights and like the common man having a voice and representation in government. And so Haiti, which at that time was known as Saint Domingue, is a colony of France. And they see this and they're just like, like interesting. So there were 5 different social classes in Haiti at this time. There were the wealthy white slave owners. They were known as planters. There were the poor white people known as petit blanc. And they were like shopkeepers and teachers. Sometimes they like owned a slave or two, but pretty poor. And so those two groups are pissed off at France for their own reasons, right? Like the planters are mad because France imposed these tariffs that won't let them trade with anyone else except for France. And then the petit blancs are pissed off because even though the French Revolution is all about the common man, they still won't let these Haitian whites have representation in their government. So these two guys are just like, man, fuck France. And then there are three different groups of black people. There are the free black people who are called the affranchis. Sorry, it's a lot of French. I did not learn my lesson from last week. Who were often wealthier than the petit blanc class. And the way that, this is so crazy, but like the way that there were free black people is these white plantation owners would rape these enslaved women and impregnate them. And then some like biological evolutionary trigger would go off in their brains when they would see this baby and they would see themselves. And they were like, obviously I don't see like a black person as a human being, but like this half white, half black baby is like half mine and I'm a human. So this baby is a human. You know, it's like so dumb. So they would declare their child free.
Yeah.
And so this created a whole generation of free people of color.
Wow.
And then some of the, and this is like one of those things that gets brought up by the like alt-right or whatever when they're like, well, black people had slaves too. So like some of the free people of color would own other people, which is like true, not to the same extent, obviously not to the same extent that like plantation owners did. So there's that group. And then there were the Maroons, which were the enslaved people who had run away, which we already covered, and then the enslaved black people. So those are the 5 groups in Haiti.
Cool.
And they all have their own reason to be pissed and ready for a revolution.
Sounds like a start of a fun time.
Really was. Really was. Also, white people were way outnumbered, 10-1.
Got it.
So
yeah, there are only 2 groups. Black people are 3 groups.
And they're just like importing all of these people without any foresight.
Yeah, dummies.
Or anything really. They're clearly like not thinking about anything except for the immediate bottom line.
Yeah.
God, it's so dumb. Okay, so Paris had just had its own revolution. They see what's happening. They see these white people of 2 different classes getting pissed off at them. And so they're like, okay, we'll give you guys some autonomy. And so they passed some legislation which called for, quote, all local proprietors to be active citizens, which means anybody who owns land is like can vote.
Oh, okay. But not what about that group of black people that,
so they can vote, but who can't?
This is a fun quiz. The slaves, enslaved people, and the Maroons.
And one other group.
Can the Petit Blancs not?
Correct.
They can't?
Because they don't have land.
Oh.
They're poor white people.
They're poorer than the... What was that group called?
The Petit Blancs are poorer than the free people of color.
Gotcha.
So even though there are still like all of these restrictions on people of color, they still have access to education and they can still own land.
Got it.
So all of a sudden, these 3 groups, the Petit Blancs, the poor white people, the plantation owners, and the free people of color, start fighting amongst themselves.
Gotcha.
And it's like this whole thing of like, I have more rights. No, I have more rights. No, I can vote. No, I can vote.
Okay.
And this starts a little like 3-sided civil war. And when that happens, all of the enslaved people and the Maroons see this and they're like, this is our fucking chance. And so in 1791, the Haitian Revolution, led by enslaved people, is on.
Do they side with the free people of color, or do they create their own group?
They create their own group, but there were most of the free people of color were on their side.
Gotcha.
And there were a few back and forth. There were like a lot of, it was very difficult to tell who was a spy at this time because there was so much like mixing and
unclear.
All this shit. So now we get to our lady. 10-year-old Suzanne Bélair sees this. 1791. She had been born a free woman of color in 1781. At some point, she changes her name to Sanité.
She's 10, you said?
She's 10 when the Haitian Revolution happens, when it starts.
Okay.
And it lasts until 1804. It's a long one.
Wait, so 91 to, oh.
Yeah, 1791 to 1804.
That's, wow, I didn't realize a revolution could last 13 years. It sounds like a war.
Yeah, it is. That's what a revolution is a war.
I guess so, but like the French Revolution was over like pretty quick, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was over. Sorry, I guess it depends. I don't fully know.
I guess I think of a revolution as like an uprising and then like the consequences, but I guess I don't know. That's long. It's just long.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's for slavery. Okay. So there's like not very much known about her, but basically Sanité is coming of age during this very violent time. But it's also a successful slave revolt. Mm-hmm. So so many people die. I think it was something like, it said like of the 500,000 black people who fought, 100,000 died. Which is, that's 1 in 5 people who fought died. Like that's a lot. And that's on the winning side. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
So a year after this, the revolution began, Toussaint Louverture, I think that's how you say it. Sorry if it's not, he's the guy who's leading the rebellion. He's a former slave. A year in, he's in control of 1/3 of the island. He's like doing very well. And Sanité is like, fuck yes, I want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. I want to help liberate Haiti. So she meets Toussaint's nephew, who's this dude named General Charles Bélair. I don't know if they were related because it says that she was born Suzanne Bélair. Oh. But whatever. And they really hit it off, Sanité and Charles. Sorry. They have like a lot in common, like wanting to kill the French. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they're just like, fuck these plantation owners. So they get married in 1796. She was 15. Sanité then is just like, I'm not here to just like be married to you and like support you. I'm here to fight. So she becomes a sergeant and then a lieutenant. She helps fight off the French, who like show up with a bunch of soldiers in 1801 to try to quell the rebellion. She and Charles are like, fuck the French, blah, blah, blah. And then they organize and lead almost the entire enslaved population of L'Arbonite against their enslavers.
Whoa.
Which was like super satisfying because L'Arbonite was Sanité's hometown.
Cool.
Really nice.
Liberates her own
real
hometown.
Yeah, she does.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. The battle lasted 2 months, and Sanité was known for like her never-ending energy. She was just like, let's go out there and fight the French.
Cool.
And she like hated white people, and she was just like, the French white people must die. And then some accounts say it was her and not Charles who led the soldiers into battle. Which is also pretty cool. She's like the one who's just like on the front lines. And she's like, let's go fucking do it. She had her husband's secretary executed because he was believed to be a spy for the French. And when Charles found out, he like didn't really want to punish him. And Sanité was like, no, we're killing him. And so she just like took it upon herself. Couldn't figure out how it happened, but it was also like very French Revolution of them because they talked about
all right, just kill them off.
1, 2, 3. Basically. She was just like, also you figure she's like 18 at this point. Like,
yeah, she's fast and loose.
Yeah. We all like had a lot of fantasies about who we would want to murder.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then there are conflicting reports of who captured Sanité and Charles. Mm-hmm. One source said that it was another leader in the revolt who was like on their side. This dude named Dessalines, who they say that he wanted to get rid of Sanité and Charles because Toussaint, the original leader, had been captured and died in jail. And Dessalines wanted to be the leader after that and saw Sanité and Charles as rivals.
Oh, so it was like an internal struggle for control or whatever.
Yeah. But then another source said that it was this French commander who did it, Broussard, and he's the one who captured Sanité, and then Charles turned himself into them because he didn't want to be separated from Sanité. Just like a beautiful love story. Truly beautiful.
Seems more likely that it was the first one.
Probably. And I get how it's like, that's a pretty good propaganda measure to be like, no, it was the French who killed them, not us, even though like...
Right.
Either way, they're captured and sentenced to death. They sentenced Charles. Well, and so I think what happened was like Dessalines is the one who like arrested them and then turned them over to the French. So Dessalines isn't that's my theory. It's like a combination of the two.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not the one who actually like sentenced them to death, but he put it into motion. So they sentenced Charles to death by firing squad, which was routine for soldiers. That was like how they died. And then they sentenced Sanité to death by beheading, by like guillotine, I guess. So first they take Charles, and basically Charles and Sanité, like in their last moments, tell each other to like die bravely and die with courage. And so Sanité like watches him die. She watches him like be blindfolded. Charles puts his hand over his heart, and in that moment they fire and he's killed. And she like, they're both just like very calm about the whole thing. So then they take Sanité, and Sanité declares that they will not behead her. They will execute her by firing squad because she's a soldier and she deserves to die like a soldier. So she's just like, I'll die, but like only by firing squad. And if you try to behead me, I'll break out of my shackles, I'll get guns, and I'll take as many of you down with me as I can. So they're like, okay.
I don't know why they believed her. I guess. I
mean, she was like this like she was like a warrior.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's also like she's got
like 18 at this point.
I think at this point she was like 21.
Wow.
And she has nothing to lose, like literally nothing to lose. The guy who she loves, they've just killed. She knows she's gonna die either way, so like why wouldn't they
just do it?
And so it's just like, all right, your final request is to die by firing squad, like fine,
we can do that.
So they order the firing squad. Sanité refuses the blindfold. She's like, no, I want to look all of you in the eye when I go.
It's like that Jewish woman.
Yes, the one that you did.
Yeah, I forget her name. Me
too. But she had that song.
Yeah, the Israel song.
Yeah. We oh boy.
You know what? There's a woman, she wrote a song, people in Israel love this song, and she died also with the blindfold off. That's the point.
Yeah, I think it's pretty badass.
Yeah. I would not do that.
I don't know if I would or not.
Because I'd be sobbing. I'd be crying. I'm so scared.
I was thinking about, like, is the blindfold more for the person who's being executed, or is it more for the executioners? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're probably right.
And I kind of want the idea, like, I mean, this is all very easy to say as opposed to, like, actually do. But, yeah I kind of want, if somebody's going to kill me, I want them to be haunted.
Yeah.
So, her final words, she shouted out to the people, "Long live liberty, down with slavery."
Pretty good. Classic final words.
Yep. Pretty good. She then became known as the Tigress of Haiti. Haiti would go on to gain its independence in 1804. It was the result of the only successful slave revolt in the Americas. And then in 2004, she was featured on the Gourde banknote, Gourde, the $10 Gourde banknote.
Cool.
I mean, I guess it's not $10. It's like 10 Gourde, whatever. As part of the bicentennial celebration of Haiti's independence. And she was the only woman in the series featured. And so that's Sanité Bélair. There was like so few details.
That's fine. That's good. We get the gist.
But I just thought it was so cool. And apparently there were like a lot of women who fought in the revolution, which makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they didn't like that they allowed for it, that they didn't like ever question, like the fact that she became a lieutenant, and like it's not like that she was being prevented from rising in the ranks. They were like, Seemed like there was some gender equity.
Well, and
there.
it seems like there was no like official structure because there's no government military.
Right.
The government military is France's
Yeah,
military.
I guess it would be stupid for like revolting slaves to be like, actually, women, we don't need your help. It was
Right.
like, no, we need all the help we can get.
Which is so interesting because the French Revolution, they were like, women were like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So my sources were blackpast.org, kentuckapage.com, which is it's every time I say it I think Kentucky, but it's KENTAKE.
Doesn't know how to speak. Kentucky.
Well, Kentucky is like it comes from a Native American word.
Oh.
Kentuck. So maybe it's the same. I don't know. Haitianbusiness.com and a lot of Wikipedia. And then I heard about it from this girl on Twitter at Beckalectus. It's BEKALECTUS.
Cool.
Although I wrote Beckalecutz, but I think it's Beckalectus.
Becka.
So follow her. And yeah, that's Sanité Bélair.
Sanité.
So,
all right.
Short but sweet.
Mine
like
is
her life.
Yeah.
Oh.
Short but intense. Mine is it's a funny compliment to your person.
I love when that happens.
It's sort of, they're sort of, she is the other side. She is the yin to that yang, I would say. So my person is Isabelle or Belle Boyd. She was born in 1844. Wait, I need to go. Here we go. I just need to put this on a table.
Oh yeah.
She was born in 1844.
Do you want something hard to put under it? Would that help?
Maybe. I just have we need to get the thing that makes the microphone stand, so I don't have to use my hand to hold the microphone.
Here, you can use my Bob Dylan book.
Oh wow, what is this Bob Dylan book?
It's a beautiful book. It's every different Bob Dylan songs interpreted by different comic book artists.
Oh, interesting.
So everything has a different. I got it from that gay bookstore in New Orleans on Frenchman.
Gay bookstore.
You know what I'm talking about? The one on Frenchman on the corner.
Oh yeah.
I got it from there.
I went in there.
Man, I went in there so many times. I love that place.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well
So,
actually it's okay.
okay,
This
you got
is
it.
fine. Thank you. Okay, so Belle Boyd. She was born in 1844. May 9th, 1844, in Bunker Hill, Virginia, which is now West Virginia. She was the oldest of 8 children to a wealthy shopkeeper and tobacco farmer.
So she's white.
So she is white as hell. At the age of 10, they moved to Martinsburg, Virginia, also part of West Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, with their 6 slaves, including Eliza Coursey, who was Belle's. This is a weird thing. The sources refer to Eliza as Belle's companion, quote unquote, and also sometimes her accomplice in her later wild life. So, it's one of these things where it's like, I do think, because then after freedom came, Eliza stayed on as Belle's servant. I think, it's complicated, but I think they did have a good relationship. Eliza taught her to read and write, like at nighttime.
Yeah.
And Eliza's quoted as saying, "Slavery, like all other imperfect forms of society, will have its day, but the time for its final extinction in the Confederate States of America has not yet arrived." So she's like, slavery's bad, but like, I don't want to give it up yet.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing about Belle is that like her life is very complicated. She's someone who like wants her cake and to eat it too, for sure.
It reminds me of one Mary Bowser, who was like us. She was like an enslaved woman who was also a spy, but it was sort of like, did she want to be a spy, or was it because like her white like master, aka like, or the way that it was portrayed, like her buddy was like sending her. It also reminds me of a lot of like suffragists who are like white women who are just like, women vote, and like we'll get to black women later, I promise, but like not yet.
Right.
Like I totally support it, but like that's not the fight right now.
Yeah. So I mean, she was she's a very deeply complicated, not that complicated, kind of a weird, bad lady. But anyway, but she did seem to have a close relationship with that. So anyway, they moved to this other part of Virginia. At the age of 12, she goes to the Female College of Baltimore, graduates at 16, returns to her hometown. And then on July 3rd, 1861, her town of Martinsburg falls to the Union, which is just a year later. So she's 17 and her town falls to the Union. Her dad like joins Stonewall Jackson's army, and she's very proud of it, and she raises funds and sews clothing.
Wait, sorry to be ignorant. Is Stonewall Jackson Confederacy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I know.
Okay.
She fights for the Confederacy her whole life, basically. So her dad joins the Confederate Army. She is like kind of doing what she can, and then at one point, like a couple years in, a Union soldier tries to invade her home. And her mom is like, no. Her mom is like, no, get out of here. Get your flag off our house. This is a Confederate house. And the Union soldier refuses to back down, and he threatens to physically assault her mom. And so she comes out with a pistol and shoots him dead.
Oh, Jesus. There's no good person in that.
No. I mean, yeah, no, there's not. She was protecting her mom, which I guess is fine. So because of that.
So Belle shoots him?
Yeah, Belle.
Okay.
Belle shoots a Union soldier who is trying to assault her mom, basically, in their house.
Right, because he wanted the house, and she was like, no.
Yeah, and he was like threatening to like hurt her mom.
Yeah, okay. So
she just kills him. So she gets acquitted of this by the Union. They were like, yeah, no, like he shouldn't have done that. You're fine. They were like, you're right. Don't. He was on your you hit rat to bear arms. You know.
Yeah. Well, what's the soldier quartered? There's another amendment. There's another amendment in the Constitution about about what soldiers can do, like whether or not they can stay in your home.
Yeah. They can't be. Yeah.
I forget which one it is,
like
but there's
5 or something.
Yeah, but there's one about like.
Yeah, they can't.
You have the right to not have them quarter in your home.
Yeah, I think maybe it was that. And anyway, but you're probably not supposed to kill them. But I don't know. No. Anyway, it is what it is. So that really like kind of changed her life. You know, it is what it is. I mean, here we are. Belle was a crazy lady. So that kind of like changes her whole life. She has this like fire in her about this. She begins her career in espionage. So basically she was, for much of the Civil War, a spy for the Confederacy. She had all kinds of nicknames: Cleopatra of Succession, the Siren of the Shenandoah, Belle Rebelle,
that one's good,
Pet of the Confederacy.
Don't like that one as much.
They're all very misogynist and like really downplay any skill or brains she used at all. She was someone who used her feminine wiles to get information from Union soldiers.
Feminine wiles. Did you write that?
No, that was quote unquote from a source, but I don't remember which ones.
Love it.
She used her body. Like there's another thing that said
her feminine Mara wiles.
Where is the feminine Mara wiles? Shout out Mara. But basically, like, there's one source that was like, listen, she was ugly, but she was like deeply comfortable in her own body. It said she's not conventionally beautiful, quote, a bit horse-faced, but she looked real weird, but she was like so comfortable in her body and like so like sexual, you know women like that who are like kind of, actually, if you just saw a picture of them, you'd be like, but then you meet them and they're like really like sexual, and you're like, oh my god,
like actually, that new Amy Schumer movie.
Sort of. That's not really the movie. Schumer movie is like she thinks she's ugly, but she's not.
Yeah, but then she like gets shallow-howled and thinks that she's way hotter.
Yeah, that's
true.
And
then she's like, like nothing about her. I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet, but like nothing about her.
But I don't know if my guess is based on the ad. When she does feel confident, people around her are still like, you don't look like that.
No, I think I think it's that like her life improves. And she thinks it's because she's hot, and it's really just because she's confident.
Wow. You guys, you don't need to see that movie anymore because we just told you what's going to happen. But yeah, so it was probably inspired by this Confederate bitch. Anyway, so yeah, so she's ugly, but she like just has a way about her, and she's confident and bold, and men are like, I don't know, you're crazy. And so she kind of plays on this like idea that like no one thinks a woman is dangerous. So for like a really long time, and to add to that, not only does she like delivers lots of messages, she also steals weapons from the Union by weaving sabers and pistols into the steel coils of her hoop skirt.
Oh my God.
And she smuggles like medicine across the Potomac to give to secession towns. So she's just crazy. And this thing, there was one source that said that it wasn't like she was just doing it for just alone for the Confederacy cause. She was charging for it. So she charged like $3 for a letter and $2 for booze.
I respect that a lot more.
Yeah. And and they were just like once attacked a guy who like refused to pay.
Great.
This is also a weird detail that was just in one source, that she had a pet crow who she trained to say Miss Belle, Stonewall, and General Lee.
Can crows talk?
I guess it had a split tongue or something. What? I don't truly know. That was like one weird thing. I was like, she had a pet crow with a split tongue. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Is that like a mistranslation where like it was really a parrot and they just had one word for every bird?
I don't know. I mean, if you're a bird expert out there, let me know if crows can like learn to talk if you split their tongues.
Have you seen those videos of people trying to teach their dog to say I love you?
No. You know I don't watch dog videos.
Okay.
What do you think I am? You? Julie? No, someone has to really show me. I feel like I've seen a dog video though, actually, of a dog that kind of says I love you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up.
I mean, please don't. We have 2 of these to do.
All right, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I get it. It's right. It's just like or whatever, and it's like, all right, that's good. It doesn't know what you're saying.
I buy it.
It has no idea what that is.
I disagree.
Okay. Anyway, so at first she was like the first time she was caught, or the first couple times she was caught, or her messages were intercepted, the Union soldiers was like, "Ma'am, there's no way you could have had anything to do with this. I'm sure you're just innocent and someone set you up. Don't worry, go free." And she was like, "Yeah, that's true. I just don't know what's happening."
Our little Dina Powell, our innocent white girl.
Yeah, totally innocent white girl.
Our Hope Hicks.
Exactly. She's got a Hope Hicks vibe for sure.
So she just got caught up with the wrong crowd.
She got caught up. So eventually the Union officials, like after a millionth time, they're like, all right, actually feels like maybe you're doing some shit. So in total, she's arrested 6 times, imprisoned 3 times, and exiled twice. So one of the, like, probably the most famous example of her exploits was on May 23rd, 1862 in Front Royal, Virginia. She listened through a keyhole in her hotel to a bunch of Union officers making plans, and then she rode on her horse, and like there's some description, I should have quoted it, but basically it was some guy who was like on the field, and he was like, I saw her riding down, her skirt blowing in the wind, her throwing her bonnet in the air, like whatever. She's very dramatic.
Yeah, the original Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah,
her skirt just blowing up.
Exactly. On a horse. So she like rides across the battlefield, delivers this message to a staff officer, helps to secure a Confederate victory, and apparently Jackson wrote her a thank you note, a personalized thank you note for this. And that event really makes her very famous. Like then she becomes very well known throughout the South and throughout the country. So on July 29th, 1862, Secretary of War Edwin Stanton issues a warrant for her arrest. She's taken to the old Capitol Prison, which is currently the U.S. Supreme Court building, and banished to the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia. They're like, you can't go anywhere else. She's arrested again and then exiled to Canada.
What's she arrested for the second time?
I mean, she just keeps going. Shit. Yeah, she just keeps doing the same shit. She's arrested, exiled to Canada. She's like, I'm not going to Canada. That place is whack. She just goes to England instead. And ultimately, she ends up marrying 2 Union soldiers. So there's a lot of theory. Like, it's very, she's a very, like, contradictory figure. It appears that she, like, some people say that she was really just in it for the thrill of it, and that she didn't, and that she was, because she does have that sort of thing where she says about slavery, she's like, I don't really, I know, she basically, I know slavery is wrong, but like I don't want it to end. But then she's also like married, so it's like that whole thing where it's like just convenient for her, so she's not really fighting against it, which is still culpable, and like she also is helping the Confederacy. But in the end, her first marriage is in 1864 to Samuel Hardinge, a Union naval officer. They have a daughter, but he leaves her before the daughter is born. And then in 1865, she publishes her memoir to make some money. Her memoir is called Bellboy in Camp and Prison. It kind of exaggerates her life, but sells really well, so this kind of supports her. And she also becomes an actress after that time, and like goes around performing her story. But she stops acting when she marries another former Union officer named John Swainston Hammond in 1869. They end up having 4 kids, but one dies in infancy. They divorce in 1884. She goes back to acting, marries another guy, this time not a former Union soldier, but just an actor named Nathaniel High, who was 17 years younger than her. Ooh. Very cool. Cougar baby. And she goes back to acting because she's like, well, I'm with Nathaniel now. We're an acting crew. On June 11th,
a real Brad and Angelina.
The original Brad and Angelina. Or Jennifer and Brad. On June 11th, 1900, at the age of only 56, she dies while on stage in Wisconsin.
Oh my God.
Yep. Very dramatic. And her childhood home is now a museum.
Do we know how she died?
I don't.
She was just like, this show is not going well. I'm out.
I mean, I'm assuming some kind of heart attack or something. I don't really know, but yeah, she just had this like weird. She's just this crazy lady who like, and she was like, it was constantly discussed how much she used her sexuality to gain information, and like that was very frowned upon.
Love it. I don't love what like the cause she fought for, but like I love that idea.
Yeah, she was just like fucking for info, and she didn't really care. And I kind of admire that, but yeah, she was definitely on the wrong side of history. But yeah, that's Isabelle Belle Boyd, the Cleopatra of Succession. My sources were the National Women's History Museum, nwhm.com, an article by Deborah Michaels, PhD, a New York Times article by Karen Abbott from 2012, and a Smithsonian.com article by Kat Eschner.
Nice.
So yeah, she was also a spy, but for the wrong side. There you go.
I mean, what a story, though.
I know that was sort of my long one, and my other one's even shorter. That one wasn't even that long.
Cool. My other one's pretty long. So
okay, good.
Don't worry about it.
So we'll do.
We got the next one for sure.
Yeah.
How'd you hear about her?
She was. I don't know. I had her in my list of people, but I can't remember how she got there. So there you go.
So should we move on to Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
So if you didn't know, we try to highlight a woman who is making history now so that she doesn't have to become a topic of this podcast in 30 years when we're still doing it. So do you have one?
No.
Okay. Oh God, did it just delete? No, it's in my other one. Okay. I have 2. I'm not going to save them because they're both from the marches, obviously. One is...
I think I know who you're going to do.
Who do you think I'm going to do?
Emma Gonzalez and the 11-year-old girl.
I wasn't going to do Emma. One, because we've already done her. Even though that was like an incredible speech.
Like, you do the woman that threw up?
Yeah, Sam Fuentes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have never loved a moment more.
That's amazing.
If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. And if you're like a little queasy stomach, don't worry. Like they pan, like the cameraman, whoever was working the cameras did such a good job of cutting away.
So you know what we're talking about. This is at the March for Our Lives march that happened, the one in DC. They did speeches and all these different students came up, and yeah.
So Sam Fuentes was this she was I think she was a senior because she ended up like she's finishing like just independent study. She's not like going back to school. But she fair. Yeah, totally. She was hit with like shrapnel from the gunshot.
Parkland.
Yeah, at Parkland. And she's still like you can see like her eye is still a little swollen. Like it looks way better than it did before.
Yeah. She got like basically a little piece of shrapnel in her face and shot in the leg, I think. Right?
Yeah. And so like, I think it's so incredible.
Is she the only surviving victim? No, I think there was another
Probably
guy.
not.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure. But I mean, I think it's so cool because like Emma Gonzalez is like an incredible speaker, and so is David Hogg. Like they both just seem like they just like know what to do in front of a crowd.
They're theater kids.
They're theater kids. And then Sam Fuentes is just this like girl who you realize like, oh yeah, of course, like they're just kids.
Yeah.
And she's like giving this speech, and you can see like at the beginning she's clearly nervous. Like she gets a little flustered at the beginning. Her paper like starts to fly away a little bit, and there's like she's just giving like such an impassioned speech, and you can see at one point she does sort of like gag a little bit, and then she like swallows it and she's fine, and she keeps going, and she's just like reading this poem that she wrote that's incredible, and then halfway, and it's just like so emotional, and halfway through she like gags again, and you realize like she can't swallow it this time.
No.
And then she just throws up, and it's just like she's just so great. She just like ducks down a little bit behind the podium, is vomiting, the whole crowd starts cheering.
Oh my God.
And then this woman like comes over to her and is just like rubbing her back.
It was another student, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it was a Parkland student,
But I think it was another student from a different school, maybe.
And then she stops vomiting. She's just like kind of laughing at herself. And then she goes, I just threw up on international television and I feel great. And then kept on going with her speech. And I was like, that's perfect.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's so amazing. And that's like a moment that will be remembered for sure.
Yeah.
So Sam Fuentes, amazing. And then, yeah, Naomi Wadler was the 11-year-old girl who got she had like organized the walkout in her elementary school. But she also gave this speech about all of the Black women who have been victims of gun violence and who don't get acknowledged at all in the news. And she was just like great. She was very eloquent.
Yeah. Also, when she
smart.
organized her the walkout at her school, most schools across the country walked out for 17 minutes, 1 minute for each student that was killed at Parkland. But she insisted that at her elementary school, they walked out for 18 minutes to include like African-American, like to think about African-American women whose names you don't hear about.
And then after they stood in their moment of silence, they did a die-in where they all lied down, which is just like a very important image. And it's just like, I just like look forward to seeing like what these kids do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So Naomi Wadler.
Cool.
Or Wadler. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong.
That sounds right. Well, you can Google it. You'll know. Just say 11-year-old girl march. She'll come up. Naomi.
So those are my Wonder Women.
Cool. Good ones.
Do you have any dates?
I don't have a ton coming up. I have 2 on Saturday. So Saturday the 31st, I'm doing a show at the Pit at 9 and under St. Mark's at 10:30.
Oh, nice. So Tuesday, March 27th, I'll be at New York Comedy Club at 7. And then Passover. Happy Passover, everybody. And happy Easter to the Christians.
Just kidding.
April 4th on Wednesday at 9 o'clock, I'll be at Lucky Jack's at 9 o'clock. Did I already say that? I think I already said that. April 5th, Thursday, at 9 o'clock, I'll be at UCB East. And April 7th, Saturday at 9 o'clock, I'll be at the Pit.
Cool.
So that's our podcast this week.
Well, thank you so much. And
real quick. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
But if you have any suggestions for us of like women who you want to hear more about, you can email us at wellbehavedpod@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at wellbehavedpod. And give us a little review on iTunes, because it helps.
It helps so much, and it takes like 2 minutes.
Tell a friend.
Subscribe if you haven't already. And tell a friend if you think someone, or your mom.
Moms love us.
Like a big mom crew. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And keep
making history.
Bye.